No, your new little toy outside. Remember these Texas guys?
Texas guys?
Remember the Texas guy? Remember we had that thing?
I went and got another one.
Good morning, Lite, Brite Nation.
What's up?
What's up? All right, so we just got back from the whole Moab, Colorado trip. It was freaking amazing. It was super fun. We did a couple thousand miles between off-road and on-road. Phoebes did great. The stepchild, I actually felt bad for Phoebes a little bit, and Chris and Pam, because a lot of the roads in Moab and even Colorado are that cobbly hard rock that just kind of beats the crap out of you. I think Chris blew a shock. He blew a rear shock.
That shock was probably on its way out.
It probably was.
Dent on the bottom of it, but I didn't help it.
It was pretty brutal, but I mean, for him, in this thing, it was like what Chris said, a big old cloud of big old titties or whatever. This thing just amazed me. We could go hundreds of miles, thousands of miles off road on that crap and just keep going, no problem. We didn't. We need to get into fixing her, right? Because before we left, we had the Eaton E-locker up front. We got to kind of get into this a little bit. The Eaton E-locker skipped twice, and actually once out in Colorado, I was going up something and it popped there too.
So we may have just broken something, but we got to get off those obstacles before we... Oh, that sucks.
So we ordered ARB air lockers. Now I think we should talk about different lockers because a ton of you talked about we should have gotten aux locker, which are super cool because an aux locker can be run as electric, air, or mechanical. You can literally have a cable that you pull and push.
You just shove a bolt in that casing
and I kind of wish we would have went that way because we haven't used one before. We've used ARB, air in the rear, and we have had issues. At the very beginning when we first put the Dynatracs in years ago, the little collar inside, the little slide collar that the air goes into, leaked. And I hear a lot of people's leak on trail, and sometimes it's install error, sometimes it's manufacturer, and it's kind of annoying to hear your pump constantly kick on and kick off. But
the other issue they have when you turn them off, they bleed back a little bit, and then you get diff fluid.
Yeah, if that's where you have your pump mounted is in the cab, sometimes you can get diff fluid, and it shouldn't do that. So that means there's something wrong inside, but you'll get diff fluid that blows back with the air, with the purge, with the solenoid, and then your inside of your cab will smell like diff fluid, which is gross. So some people, a lot of people actually mount their little single like locker pump outside somewhere. So if that happens, not a big deal, and your cab doesn't smell like diff fluid.
Make sure it's above the submersible line because you don't want to.
Yeah, there's that. So we haven't had a problem with our rear air locker and our old axles. This one's doing fine, no leaks or anything there. Nobody that I know of now is using Eaton E-lockers. So about 2 years ago-ish, Eaton went to a new design, and ever since then, just failures left and right. So I don't hold me to this, but I don't think that Curry, I know Dynatrac, I don't think anybody's offering the Eaton E-locker in a 60 right now because there's so many freaking issues and so many people. And we're going to take this thing apart. I know they've told people in the past not to. They just want it sent back in. We're not warranting this out. I don't care. I just bought an ARB Air because I just want to be done with it. But a lot of you did say we should have got an aux locker. And we should have. Or Auburn also makes something as well. People want to also know why we use electric and air. And I'll kind of go over that in a second. So the only issue that I know of with an aux locker is that it comes, like it will not fit behind this Dynatrac cover, the shape of it and the way it's run. But an aux locker can be used as electric. You can run air to it, or you can run a cable to it, which is super sick, and maybe we'll do that in the future, especially if we have any problems with this ARB. I don't think we're going to. Chris knows how to install them, and we're going to be careful, so I don't think we're going to have an issue. But the aux locker comes with a new cover, and because Dynatrac has a patented center housing for the most clearance possible in a 60 and an 80, I don't know that the aux locker cover that comes with the aux locker actually fits this bolt pattern. Because I don't think this is a standard bolt pattern for a 60. I don't know for sure, but I also don't want to put a big aux cover on here because I have Dynatracs and they're sick, and that's just what I want for now. Now, don't get me wrong. If this has an issue, if this starts leaking or we have a failure and the aux locker cover does do it, I will buy an aux locker next and I will try it and we will see what happens. So now a lot of you wanted to know, and we've explained this before, but a lot of you wanted to know why electric front, air, rear. Well, we've had ARB twin compressors in the Jeep since the beginning of the stepchild. We have it in the Bronco. We've never had a problem with our ARB air lockers. But let's just say the pump goes out. Let's say we have an electrical issue. Let's say the pump freezes. Let's say I cut an airline, whatever the case is. I would only be out the rear locker because if the front is electric, or if it's an aux locker and it's mechanical, because I believe if you have an air failure or electric failure on an aux locker, you can still get under there and mechanically actually lock it, even if you don't have the cable.
You pull the thing out and you just literally throw a bolt in there and you tighten a bolt in there
and you have a locker.
Manually locks it.
So that's what's really cool about the aux, and I feel like we should have maybe gone that route because I like the options just in case, because we do go sketchy places by ourselves. But the whole reason I went with an e-locker up front was because if I ever had an air failure and I lost my rear locker, I would still have my front locker. I have the Eaton e-locker on the old axles, which was the old Eaton e-locker design, and that's fine. We'd never had an issue with it, but this one I wasn't willing to play around with. I've been down trying to wheel this, wanting to wheel this thing for a year. It's doing fantastic. Yeah, that's about it about lockers, really. We're just gonna swap this out to an air. We'll have air front and rear, and if I do end up having any issues, then we'll look at swapping that out. I don't think we will, though. Now, we have some other things to go over since the trip. So it's about time. We got the new rock crawler tie rod kit on here. These are replaceable and serviceable. After a couple thousand miles, you need to pull these little Allens here and back here and retorque this top nut. And once you do that once after the first few thousand miles, that's it. You're done until you need to replace them, which hasn't been a thing according to rock crawler. They haven't had to replace these. But to replace all this, even if you did, is like $20. So that's not even a big deal if you do wear that out.
We also developed a little bit of movement in this joint because of the same thing. We need to now take this apart, tighten this up, the jam inside, and then it'll be solid.
You can see that right there. That ring tightens that down, and we actually have a specific tool for that here. Now, I mean, like when I said we beat the crap out of these in the past few days, I mean, it shook the crap out of both vehicles. So we do need to do that, and it looks like possibly during flex and stuff, maybe this bracket was getting into the bar, which could have led to like side loading instead of, and trying to mess with that. So that could be partly our fault, but these are rebuildable. Everything rock crawler generally is, it's rebuildable, greasable. We got to put a Zerk fitting on that, and we can go ahead and torque that down and cut that off. So not a big deal. We do have some transfer case vibration, and we Loctited all this, but it seems, oh yeah. So I had a vibration, and it seems that the bolts are loose, and we Loctited those. So I guess we're gonna Loctite them way more this time because that's not good. Other than that, everything's pretty dang good. Now I have got a lot of questions about the ADS. Guys, this stuff, this whole setup, this is for a 4800 car. This is for race car stuff, and basically my goal with the stepchild was to turn it into a Ultra 4 daily driver overlander. I wanted it to do everything, and I'm about there. People keep saying, oh, time for 42s, time for 42s. No, I don't need 42s. 42s are gonna make it slower. Oh, and Desert Racer, right? Desert Racer, Overlander, daily driver, rock crawler. 42s means 20s. 20s are heavier, 42s are heavier. That knocks my miles per gallon down. That it's more rotating mass, it's worse braking. 42s are a terrible idea. Yes, it sits taller and it looks like it can fit 42s, and I'm sure we could. But no, I'd lose up travel, I would lose miles per gallon, I'd lose braking performance, all to gain 1 inch of clearance off-road. I'm going to stick with my 40s, guys. Again, this is supposed to be an all-around perfect vehicle. If you want something similar to this, you don't have to go this route. People are like, that's way too much, it's overkill. Yeah, it is. The stepchild is supposed to be overkill. Call ADS. If it were me, to start over, if I was more of a normal person that went out with my family and kids or just went some rock crawling, I'd go with the rock crawler kit. You can 3-link front and rear. It works great, everything moves flawlessly, and you can use all of rock crawler stuff. But if you really want to go next level, you can do the rock crawler 3-link front and rear, and then call ADS and get a set of 12-inch bypasses. Stay with the rock crawler triple rate springs because triple bypasses and triple rate springs work really well together. And that would be it. I would go with the ADS bypasses and a rock crawler like 3.5 suspension and 38s or 40s. If you want to keep it really drivable, probably 38s. But that's the route. This is crazy. And yes, I would pick bypasses over coilovers any day. These are internal bypass coilovers, so that's a different story. But if you're trying to pick between just a normal 2.5 coilover or a bypass, like a double or triple bypass, I would stay springs and bypasses all day long. There's so much more adjustability in the bypasses, especially if you load and unload, put people in the back and you need to add some compression, you need to add or take away some rebound. 100% guys, bypasses is the way to go. The only reason we went this way is because I wanted coilovers with bypasses, which is the ultimate way to go. But that's extra weight, it's extra money, And I didn't know that these crazy things existed, that I don't need a coilover and bypass, because this does both, and it's absolutely amazing. Also, stick with 12s up front. I went 14s. I kind of wish I would have stayed 12s, because they can also remove the limiter inside there in a 12 to get an extra inch, which would make them 13. So going 14s, the packaging was way more of a pain in the ass, and I don't exactly sit in the ride zone that I need to. A 12 would have been much better with the limiter removed, and it would have fit perfect, and I would have been sitting right in the middle, and I would have had 13 inches of travel instead of 14. Not a big deal.
Have to cut so much and move so much.
Yeah, if you're going
brackets.
Yeah. Now 14's in the rear, you got to cut stuff up if you're doing that anyway. But again, you can bolt on 12s and 12s. I just went crazy because it's us. And as Chris is working away over here, something cool that I didn't know. I know on the stock JLs and JTs, God, gear oil stinks. There is a gasket inside the cover, so there's no pookie. There's no pookie goop. And I didn't know this, but Dynatrac does the same thing. So there's no goop on here. There's just a gasket, so you can pull the cover and not have to worry about cleaning all that up, which is amazing.
Come on out of there. Nope, I need that, and I need that.
Is jelly in here?
Nope.
Do you know where Kevin is?
Yep.
Right here working. I'm redoing some of the brake stuff, greasing all the brakes because they squealed like a son of a bitch. And these EBC brakes said that they were supposed to be noiseless and almost dustless. If you watch the last couple videos, you know, they squeal like freaking race pads.
They're also not supposed to have a bunch of dirt and dust and grime and grease.
What do you mean? They're off-road pads.
They're towing
and off-road.
When you introduce dust and stuff to brakes, they tend to squeal a little bit.
Well, then why does it do it while I'm driving down the highway? Or while I'm turning left or right?
Those are the rear ones.
And the problem is, supposedly inside here is, it used to be a 4-pin, now it's a 2-pin, or it used to be a 2-pin, now it's a 4-pin, or whatever the case is. We'll get in here and see. But also like the little teeth, you'll see when we get in there. They're skipping. Now, Eaton has been getting away from what everybody says online. Eaton's been getting away with denying everybody's warranty because they're saying that people aren't wiring it correctly because it needs a 12-volt constant. Now, some people with the JLs and JTs are wiring it to their factory switch, even though the factory is electric lockers. Eaton is saying that the factory switch does not provide a constant 12-volt and that it dips and moves, and that's why that's happened. And they're denying people's warranties, which is kind of crap because nobody else's electric lockers are having issues with the factory switch. We don't use a factory switch. We use a Switch Pros, which is a constant 12 volt. There is no dip. It's a solid state. You hit the button and it's there. Well, it's probably 12 to 14 volts. That is not our problem. Our problem is, like everybody else's, that this new design is just crap. Just is what it is.
So we got it out and got it on the bench, and I don't think that's supposed to do that. That's a press fit right there. So there's no spin marks. All the inside hash marks in here are all still there.
We thought maybe Dynatrac left a setup bearing on there wrong, but no, because that bearing, if you go over to the ARB, it doesn't fall, that would need to be pressed on there. So it's the correct bearing, but it looks like Eaton just overly machined that and somebody didn't catch it when going together.
But then what is this behind it? I don't know what this is behind it. Like this. Look at this.
These shims are like squished.
Well, that shim definitely looks used. So there's one bearing surface that spun. This one looks spun. There's a lot of gap in there. So I don't know what they did there. But so we're gonna trash all that and start with all new stuff. The new ARB. So let's get that installed. Well, except for the ring gear. I do need the ring gear. And the ring gear still looks mint. So now getting the housing ready for air, the E-locker used to come through here and it was just a drilled hole. Dynatrac already has a threaded boss for air up here, so all I just did was take the plug out of that, tap that hole, and ran the plug into this hole. So for the lack of wasting a lot of film, my original intent was I was just gonna throw some shims on here and slam it in here just to see where I was, take some measurements so that we could film the right way. Well, I literally just threw it in there with some 154s on both sides, and it feels pretty solid already, so.
We're not taking it back out.
I'm not taking it back out. I'm gonna measure. I'm gonna put my gauge on
like
there.
7 to 9 thousand?
6 to 12 or something. I'll go look it up, but I mean, that feels pretty damn close. Sorry, but it's in, so let me measure it.
since we already have a rear air locker, Chris is disconnecting the rear, plugging in the front, and we're just running a line all the way through to the front right now to make sure that it's gonna lock and there's no air leaking. Because right now, if we just do it with the air hose, we can hear it lock, but we can't tell if there's anything, if it's leaking in here at all. All right, so that's all together and looking good. Should all go back together pretty easily now. We're gonna take apart the E-locker. I took apart one half of it with the bolts, but that just gets into the spider gears, so there's nothing really there. We gotta pull this bearing off and then pull this C-clip out to actually get this locking mechanism. That's what we want to see in here, is what that looks like in there. So this rides in here and keeps these guys apart, and then when the magnet activates, it locks like that. But something's going on to where it's skipping, and you can actually see where Chris cleaned that up. See how shiny that is, and then see how the edges are all rolled. And then so this is spinning freely, and so while you're driving, you don't want to lock it because it's gonna grind like that. I never lock while driving. I'm always at a stop. Now in ARB, you can lock while you're, like, if I'm getting after it in two-wheel drive and I'm drifting and whatever, having fun, I come off the throttle, I'll hit the locker, it'll lock, and I can get back on throttle, and it'll be locked, and there won't be any issue with that. So the ARB, you can lock and unlock as you come off power, but while you're driving. Maybe this spring is too strong for the magnet, maybe the magnets are too weak, or maybe these teeth are just too soft, but something's going on. I don't know what, but that's your E-locker. Chris also weirdly had some like Ram 1500 rotors that were re-drilled for 8-lug that fit the Dynatrack from R1 Concepts. Although R1 Concepts stuff doesn't look like that, but it has their logo here, and then the drilled marks aren't drilled all the way through, so I don't really know. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't know. We threw them on. Remember these Texas guys?
Oh yeah, the Texas guys?
Remember the Texas guy? Remember we had that thing?
I went and got another one.
Mini trucks of Texas, guys. And what are those?
So those may or may not go on this before winter. Or maybe, possibly, I haven't told Kevin yet, but they might maybe possibly go on a little Jimny. I don't know yet. I haven't told Kevin or anything.
So yeah, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. Chris wants to do stuff with that. Jimny's getting worked on. That would be sick to put the tracks on the Jimny. How sick would that be with
fucking tracks on it? So I gotta build some adapters. That should be pretty easy, and we'll put some of these onto that thing.
How fun would that be in there in the snow? We'll just go rip around the Jimny in the snow. And new fenders for the stepchild. So we got the stepchild getting washed because we just had 3 people, 3 dogs, and 3,000 miles in 5 days. The guys just watched the Pro R. Yeah, the Pro R's for sale if anybody wants to buy it. 40 grand. It's only got like 700 miles on it. It's got Nitto 35s, or I can put the stock 32s back on it, and a whole bunch of stuff. It's got all the bins. It's got the spare tire carrier. It's got rugged radios and out-call radio, and air pumper, and door bags, and mirrors, and switch pros, and lights, and more lights. Front and rear bumpers. This thing was, I think, was like 55 grand with all the upgrades and everything when I got it. It's got 700 miles on it. Sell it for 40. Got rear lights, rear bumper, tires are brand new. Like I said, it's only got 700 miles on it. So anyway, that's for sale. If not, Brittany might drive it. I'm getting the new, we'll show you that in another video. She is all clean. Look at that. Detailed inside and outside. Y'all should have seen how bad the inside was. Super fresh now. Everything's hooked to the switch pros.
Yep, got everything on there. So now you got air. Okay, well. Yeah, anyway, the air, it would go.
You have to do it like this. You have to do it like this.
There you go. The air.
And then front locker, rear locker off, driver's seat on, heated seat. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Light bar, nope, we don't have one of those. Light bar, nope, we don't have one of those. Those are just dummy switches. Winch in and out, open switches. This just turns on the ability to switch on the driver or passenger heated seats. And that's it. That's all we got. Oh, people did keep mentioning about the height of this thing. So because we're at 14s, all the way around. The front just has to be that high. I actually did lower it some. Now the rear looks high, but that's because we have almost an empty tank. What's that? Key still on? So the front, that's just where that has to be. I did come down some, but to use proper up travel and down travel, that's where it has to be. That's with only like a quarter tank of fuel left, sits there, but if you put a tank of fuel in it, which Chris will demonstrate by using his body weight, now there's the rear. So it drops like over an inch. No, it's close to an inch because it's 200.
Am I that fat? Are you telling me I'm fat?
200 pounds. I bet you, because they're 200 pound springs, so it'll drop 1 inch with 200 pounds, and you got to be close to 200 pounds. So that looks a little more subtle with a full tank of gas or with tools or people back there. All right, I guess we'll just close this one out because we gotta get new tires on this thing, but what we're waiting on is our new wheels. We have Lite wheels. We have custom made our own wheels that are coming in. We'll have the first set, but they will be available to you guys. So they'll be in 5-lug, they'll be in cast and in forged. We're getting forged 8-lug. Yeah, 5-lug, 8-lug, 6-lug for Bronco people. Can't show you yet. We're gonna wait till we get here. Should be here. If you're coming to SEMA, we'll be at SEMA. We'll be at the MagnaFlow booth on Wednesday and Thursday, but it will be at the MagnaFlow booth the whole time, so you'll see it with the new wheels on and some new Nittos. We'll let you know when they're available for purchase, which will probably be beginning of the year. That's what we're shooting for. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Remember, you can find all your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at LiteBriteStudios.com. And we're gonna go wheeling tomorrow and have some more fun.
I'm not. He is.
He's got.
I'm gonna have some fun, but I'll be around here.
All right. Later, guys.
Later.
Where'd he go? So Chris got. Well, hold on. Let's not do it like that. You need me to come down? Can you tell the ladder? Want me to go on my shoulders? I'm wrong. The knuckle was in the way.
Good.
Or the hub was in the way.
Good.
He was not standing on that top little bar right there.
I was not standing on this bar.
Definitely
Definitely not.
He definitely was not standing there.